Welcome back, everyone, to the cigar smoke-filled back room. I am Doug with Tusk Consulting. TuskConsulting@gmail.com. TuskConsulting@gmail.com. If you are a pro-gun Republican and you are in need of political consulting help, drop me a line at that email and we'll see what we can do for you. If you are not a pro-gun Republican, go back to living under the bridge, you troll. In the ongoing video series of things that are not discussed enough in politics, or at least not discussed honestly enough in politics, today we're going to talk about the priorities that incumbents have. And before we get too far into the video, the cigar of the day is a Monte Cristo White Series. And the bottle of the day is a Glenmorangie, a very classic Highland Scotch whiskey. Having it on a single large cube of ice because, well, bloody hot today. I don't know about where you are, but here it is not cool. Anyhow, incumbent priorities. So, what do incumbents prioritize politically? Well, let's first talk about the things they should prioritize. They should prioritize things like constituent services. And I say constituent services, if, like, say you're a congressman and you've got a constituent, someone who lives in your district that is having a problem with the IRS or the VA or whatever, you helping them or your staff helping them and getting a successful resolution so that person doesn't feel hopelessly lost in the red tape bureaucracy that is the federal government is very beneficial. And look, this is a relatively inexpensive way to move the needle in increasing your personal favorables. It's long been said that while Congress's approval rating is in the same neighborhood as Mexican tap water, individual congressmen within their own district are, of course, popular enough to often get reelected. Why is that? Well, it's because of the personal connection. The personal connection that says, hey, that guy helped me out. I was having a tough time, and he saw to it that I got a fair shake in the system. And that means something. I have seen people win and hold, or this, again, we're talking about incumbents here, hold on in districts that are not really favoring them from a partisan standpoint, precisely because they have excellent constituent services. Look, if you're an elected official and you don't have good constituent services, you better be in a district that, like, landslide favors you. Otherwise, you're leaving votes on the table. There are people who do not ideologically agree with you that will vote for you just because you helped grandma or you helped aunt so-and-so with, you know, their problem with the IRS or the VA or whatever. And that is a personal touch, okay? So they should care about constituent services, and some of them do, which is good. They should also care about gathering input from the public on the issues of the day. Look, they're representatives. How can they represent if they don't know what the people in their district think? So yes, they should, listen to the phone calls that come in and the messages, aside from the ones with vulgarity, of course. They should, read their submissions on their website. They should check the mailbox and see what people have written them letters about. And I know, some groups will do, a letter writing campaign or a postcard campaign or an email campaign. I get all that. And yes, but look, if enough people care to send in that postcard or care to send that to copy and paste the email, that's something, right? It's showing these groups, these outside groups, have the power to move people to at least do something to contact their representatives within the government at whatever level it is we're talking about. Now, the old I'm going on a listening tour is a bit passé in this day and age. And to be clear, with the very raucous nature of politics these days, if you're going to have a public town hall, it's real important that you don't go and allow it to become a platform for people who hate you to just filibuster and turn the whole thing into a disaster, okay? That's dumb, all right? Don't do that. But, again, you do want to listen to your constituents. And, of course, if you are in office, you're an incumbent, you should be attending committee meetings and session meetings. If you're in, a legislature or whatever, go vote, right? You're there to vote. Go vote. And this may sound like a total no-brainer, like, well, yeah, Doug, of course. There are people that don't. They get elected as a state rep or a congressman or whatever, and they don't go vote. And of course, this can be used against them in their re-elect efforts. It often is used against them, sometimes effectively, sometimes not. But it's literally your job, right? Like, at the absolute minimum, you should show up and put your little card in and hit yay or nay or whatever, right? Like that's why they say, that's why you're getting paid. If you don't do that, this is silly, okay? So do your absolute minimum of going to the committee meetings, taking the votes, being at session. There's just no excuse to not do that. That's literally your job. All right. So that's what they should care about. They should prioritize. But what do incumbents prioritize? Well, let's start with the obvious. And this is kind of the trope and the stereotype, but it bears mentioning because remember, we're talking about things honestly and not the way that they're often talked about. So let's get the top 3 out of the way right out of the gate. They care about themselves, and themselves, and themselves. Un, deux, trois. Now, that's a very cynical view, but it's a view a lot of people have. So we need to address it. In politics, there is a certain amount of self-interest, you cannot be a truly humble man and be in politics. You'll be a failure. You have to have some ambition. You have to have some self-interest. You have to at least occasionally be looking out for number one. If you're not, somebody's going to figure out a way to cut you off anyhow, okay? Obviously, you can overdo it. There are people that are just in it for themselves and absolutely nothing else. And those people are, frankly, easy to outmaneuver, too. But it is a trope that, politicians just out for themselves, especially people that are already in office and want to stay in office. And so let's just talk about that for real. There is an element to that. Now, having said that, even if that were completely true, it's actually not all bad. They say, Doug, well, how can that not be all bad if they're just in it for themselves? And the answer is, at least you know what their motivation is. So quit trying to sway them with arguments, say of patriotism or good governance or whatever. You got to direct your arguments towards what they care about, right? What you're pushing for, what you're supporting, what you're advocating for is beneficial to them and their career. So, let's talk about the other things they actually do care about. One of them is fundraising. The majority of an incumbent elected official's time should be taken up by fundraising. Especially, we're talking higher level politics here especially. If you're not fundraising, you're a fool. Because your opponents are fundraising. Outside groups are fundraising. Super PACs and layered PACs and dark money groups. There's fundraising going on everywhere. You need to be fundraising. Depending on who you want to listen to, it'll be anywhere from 50% to 75, 80+% of your time should be spent fundraising. Now that probably sounds asinine to a lot of people listening to this right now. I'm telling you, money is a tool in politics, and if you're not getting it, you're in a bad way. So, incumbent politicians do care about fundraising because they know its importance. And again, I'll remind you, you don't have to have the most money to win in politics, but it sure helps, okay? There's also spending it wisely and all that, obviously, but having the most certainly helps, and it does scare off some potentially strong adversaries who are concerned that you have the resources to make them look, like idiots. Another thing that incumbents care about is they like to grandstand. They like to talk about how strong they are for an issue or how incredibly hard they fought against an issue, whatever it is. They love to grandstand. They love to hold the phone and take the selfie or they do the video and talk about, how hard they fought on this issue, or that their bill's making it up to get signed, whatever it is, okay? The reason for that is very, very simple. It's all about getting name ID hits and getting the people that care about these issues to reshare them, etc. It's earned media. They didn't have to buy a radio ad. They didn't have to buy a TV ad. They came out and said, I'm for this, or I'm against that, and the people that were on this issue are now sharing their message, okay? And that is powerful because this is a name ID game. And of course, another thing that incumbents especially care about is networking. If you're sitting there going, well, gee, Doug, this sounds like a list I care about. Like money? Yeah, okay, I like money. People thinking that I'm doing a good job? Yeah, and extending my network? These sounds like, and these are things everybody should do. Politicians have very specific goals in mind with very specific kind of niches here, but it's true. So they care about networking for a few reasons. One, networking is helpful for if they need to advance, or maybe they're in an office right now that's term limited, and so they can't stay in that office forever, they have to go somewhere else. So by networking, they can find where it is that they may have a good shot of getting into. That's one. Two, networking, it's kind of a gossip thing. The more people you talk to, the more likely you are to hear about potential threats to you coming before they actually arrive on your doorstep. A big, broad network is an information vacuum that hoovers up all the rumors and gossip and gets it to you before plans get too far. This is powerful, right? Think about if a country decided not to have spies, not to have an intelligence agency, an intelligence infrastructure. How crippled they would be, right? Because things would maneuver against them and they would have no way of knowing until it was already over. That's dumb. You don't stay in office by being dumb. So you network. You talk to people. You find out who's where and what the chessboard looks like. Now, how can we work these angles to advantage, to help to advance the pro-gun, conservative Republican agenda? Well, obviously, we want to appeal to the self-interest and self-preservation of these incumbent politicians. Obviously, since fundraising is a big deal, donors get access. Just because you're a donor doesn't mean your representative is going to vote your way. They very well may not. But you're definitely going to get access. And I don't mean go out there and write a $20 check and expect your congressman to meet with you tomorrow. I'm not saying that, okay? But there are definitely a cut of donors that if they make a phone call, they get their congressman or senator or state representative, whatever, to take their call, or at least to call them back, right? And say, hey, I heard you had a problem with a particular bill. What's going on here, man? What are you seeing that I'm not, right? And they'll engage them. Again, they may not do what you want them to, but at least you have access to say, look, bro, maybe you've heard this and this, but I'm here to tell you the real scoop because this is my field and I know what's what, and it's actually like that, okay? And let's get you on the right track here, bro. And that can be very powerful. So in the same vein, because incumbents care about fundraising, if you offer to host a fundraiser for your incumbent, that will help, okay? It's not just donors individually writing your own check. It's also people that help others write checks that get the respect and get the access. So there you go. There's another way you can get the ear of your elected officials. Additionally, when your elected officials do something good, something pro-gun, or if your issue is the life issue, pro-life, or if you're a regulatory reform guy, lessons whatever it is, when they do something good, especially if they have a press release, blast that out. Put it out there on social media. Facebook, Twitter, X, whatever, all the socials, right? Get it out there. Tell people about it. Share it. Make sure people know that your state rep or your congressman, whatever, is doing the good work that you sent them there to do. That helps them. That appeals to their desire to get name ID hits, their earned media. They're not having to pay you to do that. You're doing that because you agree with them. And the more that you do that when you agree with them, the happier they are with you and the more accessible they are and the more reinforced they are that they're on the right side of an issue. Because look, we all want reinforcement, okay? And additionally, it never hurts to be associated with a faction that is on the rise. So when you think about right now in Congress, there's a group of, I think 25-ish or so congressmen, Democrat congressmen, who have told Biden, hey, bro, it's time to go. Now, did they do that because they watched that debate and they're like, oh my goodness, our great nation is at risk with this, addle-minded fool being in the White House? No! They don't care about that. What do they care about? That's my email. Got that one wrong. They care about themselves. Okay? They care about themselves. And Joe Biden going up there and going, almost as bad as me getting my pages wrong, shows them that he is a drain, a dead weight, an anchor on the Democrats' re-election campaigns. And those 25, I haven't even looked at which ones they are, but I could pretty much tell you without looking. They're in competitive races, yo. And they know that in competitive races, if the top of the ticket is a drag, which Joe Biden will definitely be, or at least that's the way it looks right now, they're not going to win re-election. If they ain't going to win re-election, they want somebody else at the top of the ticket. It's not that the guy in the White House being an addle-minded fool is a problem for them. It's the threat to their re-election that's a problem to them. Think about it that way and you'll understand them much better. So in summary, incumbent politicians are inherently self-interested, just like all human beings are. It's not all bad. Play to that, and you'll understand them better and be able to interact with them more productively. Again, I am Doug with Tusk Consulting. TuskConsulting@gmail.com. TuskConsulting@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for your attention. Catch you in the next one.